My goodness. I'm recording this on my old phone, so it's a little different. But I'm going to take this off because I want to. I might wear a blanket, but I was thinking about recording this with this on, but I don't know. It's a cute shirt. It's got like sparkles too. They've been there for over 20 years. Long time. Pretty interesting. So I want to give you an update about my week. First things first, I quit being a brand partner with the skincare company I was working with. It's a lot to get into, but essentially it was a multi-level marketing business, which means there's someone here who sells products and gets a commission for products they sell. Then they recruit 3 people, and all 3 of those people get their own clients or customers, okay? And for every customer that these people have, this person gets money. And then those people get people, and for every customer these people have, these people get money, and this person gets money. Extra money. And it keeps going like that. And I have a problem with that business model. It's often seen as a pyramid scheme, and they were sued by the FTC. But they won the lawsuit because their products are not fake. And when the products are fake, that's usually when you can't win against the FTC. But the system of the business is still set up like a pyramid scheme. So there was pressure always on me to sell. And if I couldn't sell, I would have to buy products every month to stay in. And it was just weird. It was like a weird culture, MLM culture, where it was very possessive, and I was being surveyed on social media and monitored by people higher up in the company, and it just wasn't fun at all. So I quit, and I quit quietly. I didn't used to quit quietly, but I do now. I just remove myself. When I see who people are, I just remove myself. So, I do want to talk a little bit about the comparison, because I do talk about that sometimes. So hang on. I wrote stuff down, so I'm gonna read about it. Okay, yeah. There's a couple people I follow who are either really successful or really rich at a very young age. And it's not that I hate these people, but oftentimes they're very popular and they're sharing with other people their success stories. But they haven't lived a long time with chronic instability in their life, and they haven't often rebuilt their nervous system after complex trauma or acute trauma. And a lot of times these people that I see, whether they're fitness influencers or they just make a shit ton of money or they just have a lot of good stuff going for them, you look at them, most of the time they're white. Not all of the time, most of the time they're white. And I'm white, so I can say this shit, but most of the time they're white. There's an aspect of racial privilege there. And not only that, but a lot of these people, I hate them. Okay, I said I wasn't gonna say that. I hate how naive and dumb they are about the human experience and the way it is for other people. And that's why I'm here and why I'm making content, because I think the world needs more people who are not just privileged, who had a lot of good stuff going for them. And every time you talk to someone like this, as soon as you tell them they're privileged, they're gonna start fighting at you with, Well, I had a hard life. I had a single mother and she worked 2 jobs. It's like, okay, bitch, some people are physically neglected and abused physically and deal with emotional abuse and a narcissistic abuse, and they deal with incarceration in their family and have no support and are expected to be perfect, and then or deal with sexual trauma or rape, and you know that shapes everything about their acute or complex trauma for years. It takes to undo that, and they're just so stupidly naive. And I am not this way. It's like when I see these people, I see them as almost like children. And it bothers me and irritates me so much, and this is my own shit that I have to work on, that they're so successful and so idolized when most people don't realize these people are nothing like you. These successful or rich people who become very successful at whatever they're doing very young confuse privilege, timing, and risk tolerance with a universal strategy. So they think, oh, I know how to get rich at a very quick pace. I know how to manifest my dream life from a miracle. I know how to get my dream body in 6 months or less. These people, it's not a universal strategy that's going to work. It worked for them because they're privileged. They have the right timing because of their circumstances in life. And they have higher risk tolerance because they have less trauma. That's fucking it. Okay? It doesn't mean that these people are lying or they're malicious, but it means that your advice, the advice that they give, it's trauma blind. It doesn't even see the difficulty or the pain that other people experience. And it's completely naive and unaware to this. And they will likely go their entire lives like this. There's a girl I really like on social media. I had to unfollow her today though. And her name's Shelby Sapp. And she's one of these people where she bought like a really expensive car and has a really nice house and has a great partner, and that's all great and dandy, but her advice is to usually women to get into high ticket sales, and she's a self-made millionaire at 24. And the problem is that's not going to work for everyone, and there's going to be things that are more difficult for other people that she can't even conceptualize or think about or experience because she's never had to experience them. Certain difficulties that might create obstacles, seen or unseen, that make it very difficult to follow your passion and show up and grind and just be grit and go, go, go. If it's just do X advice, it's often speaking from a regulated nervous system, early access to opportunity, capital, or support. I mean, look at Donald Trump, right? Early access to capital, he had a lot of money. Or a short feedback loop between effort and reward. So I put effort out and I get reward. Shelby Sapp, the same girl, she's like, she went into sales in another state, and her first summer she made like 70,000 or something, and that's very little effort for very lot of reward, and that's not necessarily how it's going to work for everyone else. It worked for you, and that's great, but it's not necessarily going to work for everyone else. If you lived through long-term stress, poverty, emotional neglect, emotional injury, physical abuse, your brain and body does not operate the same way as other people. It does not. It's not philosophy, it's neuroscience. And these people preaching, and not just Shelby, and I have no hate for her, it's just the naivety of this is sad to me. And the problem is there's tons of people like her who idolize people like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is one of these people as well, who just came from a lot of privilege and sees the world through a certain lens because he has never had this experience of struggle. And so completely naive to the difficulty of the human experience that other people face. And I am not naive at all to the difficulty of the human experience. And that's why it's so important for me to rise to my highest potential, because I believe that my reach will be greater and can be greater than any of these fuckers, any of these bitches, okay? Because I'm not just here to uplift the pop girly Barbies who come from a single mother and had a little bit of difficulty. I'm here to uplift everybody. People who have been estranged from their parents, queer people who have lost their family by being disowned, people that have struggled with poverty, extreme poverty. And not to say I've faced every level of this difficulty, but I understand it. And I'm never gonna gaslight people out of their experiences. And I'm finding my way out through my difficulty to help other people understand that this is possible for them too. And I don't know if I really want a shit tons of money. Maybe I just want it as fuck you money to the people who think that someone like me couldn't have that much money. But it's not really necessarily important to me. So yeah, I wrote a lot about this, but when someone says something, you see one of these creators that says something like, if you really wanted it, you'd go and get it. If you really wanted it, you'd make it happen. I saw another post recently on Instagram that got, of course, like thousands of views, and it was like, and likes, and it was like, you'll have an urge to move to New York City in your 20s. It's very important that you pursue that dream. And it's a vision of this guy in highlight reels, and he's like running through Central Park and in really nice places and eating at fancy places. And someone commented something like, step 1, have daddy's money. And when you hear these people that are very privileged say things like this, if you really wanted it, just go get it. Go get your dreams. You'd stay consistent. You'd be driven. You would show up every day. What they're actually saying is, my nervous system allowed me to do this. My circumstances allowed me to do this. And that's why it's possible for me. Not because I'm more driven. Not because I have more grit. Not because I am more inspired. But because of my circumstances. And that difference is important. I'm not saying hate on them because it's different. I'm saying the difference matters. Acknowledging the difference matters. Where other people can build their business and build millions in, their early 20s or late 20s, others of us are deep in therapy, healing from the woundings of our childhood or adulthood, with things that don't even cross the privileged mind of these other people. Ideas, experiences, traumas that don't even cross their worried mind, where they're so obsessed with their hustle and bustle, they have no idea how difficult it is for others. And so I'm here to validate people. Mm, yeah, so anyways, that's about it with that. Now we're gonna move on to something else. Um, so I left the MLM. Also, like, I'm a business owner. I own a business. I hustle. I work full time too. I have to work full time, or my bills don't get paid. I have to work 40 hours a week, or I starve to death and I don't have enough money for my rent. And I also build my business on top of this, and that's the way it is. And some spiritual bitches woo woo will say, if that works for you, or your thoughts become your reality, or if you say it is what it is and that's the way it is, there's no other way around it because you're creating that reality for you. I mean, I'm like, fuck you, you stupid, naive idiots. Like, shut the fuck up. Take a look around you and look at the real fucking world and get out of your woo-woo head. Because I'm not saying that this is my life permanently, but it's what my life is right now. I started a business 6 months ago. I tried to use that to sustain me by itself. It's very difficult. It's not just like start a business and woohoo, everything works out like wonderfully and it's all sugar and sunshine and highlight reel. No, it's fucking hard. And you grit and you grind and you have a meltdown and you're not making enough. And it's stressful and you have bills to pay and you're not making enough to pay them. And you're trying to push this passion out and build this brand and you're doing it alone. And the growth from 6 months ago, is incredible. And the growth from now to 6 months from now will be incredible too. And yes, I can manifest all I want, this dream life of working my business, working a couple hours a day or whatever, and having enough money to provide for myself. But that is not my fucking reality right now. We need to wake up and look at the reality in front of us, which is I need to work to pay my bills. I also have dreams. I also like to post on social media. This is my fucking reality. I'm a normal fucking person. I'm not a privileged person. I'm privileged in some ways. Of course, I'm white. I'm a boy. If you aren't aware of how these things can give you little micro benefits and little ways here and there in life, you are just not understanding the true experience of how it feels to not have those little privileges. I think when you experience difficulty or challenges, it makes you have more compassion for other people who have difficulty. But I didn't just come from a nuclear family with no trauma and a regulated nervous system and was provided for and we had lots of money. That's like the ideal. And I see a lot of people like that who get successful, but they're never really blown up successful. So, anyway. Coming back to what I was saying, my reality right now requires me to work full time and build my business and follow my dreams. And I'm doing everything I can to make that happen. And I'm doing all of this with a weaker nervous system than other people might have because my nervous system has a bunch of complex trauma that makes things very difficult. I'm neurodivergent, so it makes this very difficult. And it's not just easy. And that matters. That truth matters for why it might be harder for me to get to where I want to go. So, yeah. But we've done all that, and my dreams and my visions for like the next 6 months, I really want to stabilize with the income. So although it's hard to work full time and run a business, and I could not have handled this, my nervous system could not have handled this 5 years ago at all. I could not have worked 5 years ago. I could have not worked full time and also built a business and also posted on social media. I could not have fucking done it because I had so much trauma and I was just getting back into therapy. I had just done barely a little bit of therapy. And now 5 years later, here we are. We can handle it. This is a fucking privilege. This is a fucking privilege to be able to work 40 hours a week, have the energy and nervous system capacity to post almost every day, and to also run my cleaning business by myself in the background. People do not have the capacity, either physically, they have a disability, or mentally with their nervous system, they're neurodivergent, and they cannot handle this much capacity. I was that 5 years ago, and now I've done a lot of work in therapy to regulate and get to a point where I can do this. And it's what I have to do in order to live in an apartment by myself. In a city that's not super expensive cost of living, but it's still a 1-bedroom, I interact with literally hundreds of people. I feel like in the past 3 or 4 years, I've just connected with hundreds of people, and not just an acquaintance. Like, I say that because I've worked a bunch of jobs, oftentimes for 3 months to 6 months. And I've intimately gotten to know many fucking people. And most people have trauma and are struggling and have been through a lot of shit. That is the fucking majority. The majority is not these pixie princesses who are self-made millionaires at a very young age, who have regulated nervous systems, who choose to live off caffeine, to push themselves into fight or flight so that they can act and do more. That's not the norm. And I want people to know that. Anyways, the next 6 months, what I'm trying to look towards is I really want to get stable with working full-time, and also all the things I try to incorporate into that. I haven't been going to the gym for like 2 weeks, in particular because I have a problem with eating when I get dysregulated. My nervous system does, and I think a lot of people do who have trauma and stuff. They know what I'm talking about. Like, you either won't eat or you'll eat way too much. For me, it's the latter, and you will get stuck in this way of being like, oh my god. You'll get stuck in this system of fight or flight, and you're tired and you're burnt out and you're not eating because you're stressed, and maybe you don't have enough money. That's a big part of it for me often. Don't have enough money, and also my capacity to try to, there's a food bank, or there's the this, or this, or that. There's executive dysfunction, which means I don't know how to start, or starting feels impossible. And so I don't, because I get overwhelmed. And people without trauma don't have that. That's a fucking privilege to be able to say, and it's not just in your fucking head, it's real. I can hear the people like Osmongold who would say, oh, well, that's woo-woo, just get off your fucking ass and go do it and go start. It doesn't work like that. This is actually how people's brains work. And not to victimize people and say, oh, it's so hard to go out and get food stamps or go out and go to the food bank and I'm a victim because my brain doesn't work the right way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's times where we don't do things because without even knowing why we aren't doing them, because our brain works in a different way from other people. So other people will go out and get the food stamps and get problem solve and do the things, and neurodivergent people will just avoid the thing and try to cope. And it's not a character flaw, it's the way their brains work. And it takes time and work and healing and patience to change your brain so that it can work differently. And it's a privilege to have your brain work that way in a positive way, regardless of whether you did the work to heal from a lot of trauma and difficulty, or regardless of whether you just never had trauma or difficulty to heal from in the first place. It's a privilege to be able to operate in that way. And I definitely recognize how I operate a lot cleaner now than I did 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. So now, that's just basically where I'm at. I think I want to get better at working full time and building the things that I do around that. It's been probably about a year since I have landed on the things that I desire and want to do and want to pursue and want to stick with, including dancing, singing, social media, inspiring people, talking to people. I love fucking working with children because I feel like on a daily basis I can make an impact on little kids' lives, and I feel like it does matter to them, and I am leaving an imprint in a positive way on little kids who are sometimes, I don't know if the word's desperate, but just craving a positive imprint. That's what I try to do. And it's just so rewarding. When I first started learning in college, I was going to do education, but I dropped out of that because I thought, I don't think that will make me very much money. And in reality, some schools make a lot of money. They get a lot of funding. And it's not always the white suburbs of Chicago. Sometimes it's other places, because I'm in New Mexico, and there's a lot of money being sent to certain places. Some of these teachers make $90,000. Granted, they've been working for a while, but still, that's a really good salary. There are teachers in this country in districts that are not just the white, fancy, privileged districts that get a lot of money for their schools and pay their teachers well. And I had no idea. Anyway, big part of my thing, like my goals, revolves around social media, physical health, finances, my creative endeavors, and my business. And I'm just so proud of the work that I've done. I love the work that I am doing. I love the way my journey's going. I love how much I've grown. I love the stability I'm building for myself. That's the biggest thing I'm in right now. I don't know if I've talked about this in other videos, but the element of earth, air, water, and fire reflect our lives. And I think at different chapters of our lives, we have to pretend like we're the Avatar of the Last Airbender and master a different element. People who are in the element of earth for their whole lives, maybe there's a lot of stability and they follow everything by the rules. They get good grades, they go to college, they get a job, they get a good paying job, they get a place to live, they maybe get a pet, they take care of the pet, they have a wife and kids. Everything's stable, everything's consistent, but there's no zest to it. those people probably need to rotate to the element of air. I think you cannot go from one element to an opposite element. I believe you have to merge like they do in the Avatar. So he starts with airbending, right? And air is opposite to earth. Then he learns water bending, and water is opposite to fire. Air, water, fire, or air, water, earth, fire. I think wherever you're starting, you can go whichever direction you want. I believe as a person, I started very air, which is like whimsical, free-spirited, taking big risks. It's all up in your imagination. It's all up in your mindset, manifesting, creativity, positive thoughts. And yet there's no earth when you're so far in the air. So it's all about your thoughts and your ideas. And I have this beautiful idea to live in this place and, live off grid and have a beautiful garden and live sustainably. Or I have this beautiful dream to move to New York City and become a Broadway star and do all of this beautiful stuff and live and experience Wall Street and invest my money. That's all air. It's a beautiful concept and an idea and something that will push you out of the box. Or I have a desire to move to Paris and have this dreamy life where everything's wonderful and I sell flowers on the street and it's something else very whimsical. I play music and then I don't know. It's all very, very air. And I was a master at that. And air is also about your thoughts. It's about your breath as well. So your breath in correlation to your nervous system. Your nervous system is very much the element of air, whereas our blood is the element of water. Earth is like our body, and fire is not anything physical. It's like your spirit. But I moved first. I feel like I merged a little bit. So fire is like your spiritual self and your spirituality, and water is like your emotions, particularly connected to your trauma and pain and difficulties, especially correlating to anger or depression or sadness or rage or fury, all very water emotions. And if you can do the work to look at those, or even your family relationships, and heal those, it sets you up to step into the next element, which is my current chapter, which is the element of earth. And that means get a job, work a 9 to 5, pay them bills, show up consistently, build stability, feed yourself every day, get a paycheck, pay off your debt, follow the rules consistently, day in, day out, not for 2 weeks, not for 2 months, but for years. That's what the element of earth is about. And that's the chapter I'm in right now. And I'm learning, we're on planet Earth. This is a part of the planet Earth, is you have to water a fucking plant every day, theoretically, for it to grow. You don't really have to water every day. But you get the analogy, like you have to water the garden. You can't just stop fucking watering the garden and dream of another fucking, I want to grow orchids, I want to grow tulips, I want to grow roses. Put the fucking work in. Wakey, you're on planet Earth. You got to put the work in every day to make those fucking roses grow and happen. You got to tend them. You got to take care of them. That's labor. That's work. Get out there, get the work in. Doesn't have to be a lot of work every day, but it has to be there. That's what the element of earth teaches us. And after I finish the element of earth and I really build this foundation for myself, I'm going to step back into expanding from that. And I'm trying to continue to expand from that while also, mastering the element of earth. That's why I'm not just working a 40-hour week and nothing else. I'm working for a 40-hour week I'm building a business. I'm posting on social media. I'm practicing my creative endeavors to get better at them, like singing, because I'm trying to mash all of the things I've done previously with what I'm building now. And I don't really know exactly what comes after the element of earth, but I think all of it kind of happens, is starting to merge simultaneously now. It's just, for me, earth has been the most neglected. I have not worked a job for more than 6 months in my whole adult life. I did not have a college degree until last year. This fucking year, 2025. I did not have a college degree. And the people that say you don't need a college degree to succeed, in the element of earth, if you're in that element, you do need a fucking college degree. You need a paper. You need to put in the work. You need to be consistent. You need to go into debt. You need, not necessarily debt, but you need to get a job from your paper that pays well. You need to show up at that job. You need to do the work, get the paycheck, go home. That's how the element of earth works, okay? Water the fucking grass. Okay? People that say you don't need to get a college degree. These bitches who say you don't need to get a college degree are coming from a upbringing where there was stability, consistency, and predictability. They're not coming from chaos and mayhem and trauma and narcissists and emotional abuse and emotional neglect and being starved and beaten and bruised. No. Not necessarily, because I do know some people that have gone through a lot of shit that still say don't get a college degree. But what I'm trying to say is, like, the people that tell you not to get a college degree and instead to just expand into magic and become this wonderful person that makes a lot of money, they don't have to build the stability because they had it to begin with. And people that didn't have it and don't go to college and don't get a degree and don't work a 40-hour work week and don't get a well-paying job end up at a job that doesn't pay very well because they don't have a college degree, and it's stressful and it's hard, and they listen to these people's advice of don't get a college degree, but what they need more than fucking anything in their life is stability. And the college degree for fucking me has given me stability. It's given me a lot of stability in the money I make from my 40-hour-a-week day job. A lot of fucking money that I would not make if I did not have a paper. I don't even have a special fucking paper. I studied exercise science. My degree is called interdisciplinary studies because I had a shit ton of credits. They said, here's an associate's, congratulations. You know? Now I get a job that pays like, I don't know, 5K to 10K more a year because I have that paper. That makes a difference. And someone whose life has been crazy, hectic, and unstable for almost all of it, that stability makes a difference. I have to build that for myself. And then building that allows me to set up this foundation where all of my dreams can come from there. I'm tired of seeing 20-year-old somethings successful and winning and everything's going great for them when that's not what most people's experience is. It wouldn't upset me as much, and not to say, I think it wouldn't upset me as much if there were a lot of people like that. There were a lot of people who didn't have trauma and didn't have difficulty and didn't go through a lot and weren't wounded and weren't healing their trauma in their 20s and weren't struggling to just pay ends meet and get through the fucking month in their 20s. It wouldn't bother me as much to see these people popular and preaching if it was more normalized for young people to be regulated and happy and be able to just jump off and be successful. But that's not the case. And that's not the case. And I know it's not the case because I just have interacted with so many people who may not all be young, but many of them, all of them have been young. And so few of them had this experience of just highlight real, positive, wonderful success story at 22. It's just not how most people's experience is. The same goes for the little kids I work with. I showed them a bunch of people and they hated Taylor Swift when I showed them Taylor Swift. I'm not a hater of Taylor Swift, but I could understand why a bunch of native or Mexican, 11-year-olds who live in one of the poorest states in the country would hate a girl from Tennessee who became really famous at like 15, 16 years old, who probably has a pretty regulated nervous system and support that they didn't receive. I could understand that. I teach a lot of native kids and Mexican kids with a couple of white kids. Almost no black kids at this school. And no Asian kids really either. But yeah, I'm just ranting. The me from 5 years ago, 5 years from now, will have an interesting take on all of this, I'm sure. And that's why I'm gonna post it, because I do like to react as well to videos, and sometimes I'm probably not going to do this year because it's literally only been a year, but in the future I'll probably react to my old videos maybe 5 years from now or something, and look at them and reflect on how my opinions have changed or how much I've grown and stuff like that. And this maybe will be one of them. Hopefully it will be. I've evolved so much over the years, so much, even over the past 6 months. And I'm really proud of myself for starting YouTube stuff and posting, and I plan to continue posting. Yeah, I'm so proud of myself because it's really fun to document this whole thing. And I saw a couple of videos from 2 or 3 years ago on TikTok, and my God, have I grown. I have grown so much since then. And it's miraculous to see how much I've grown. So, I'm gonna let you go. So it's just been a lot of ranting. I do a lot of comparison is the problem. And I don't think I'm alone in that. We're meant to compare, that's how humans are programmed. But we're not meant to compare ourselves to thousands of people.